Okay. I turn to Lana and I say, "You held your own in there."
I just kind of chuckle and I say, "Thanks. I didn't want to get caught up in his words. We have too many other things to be thinking about right now. Do you think what he said about Grail is actually true?"
I don't really ever know, but I I don't think he had anything to do with it.
I don't think so either.
Maybe I'm wrong, but he made a good point. Why target Grail? Why in that way? It could just be that he's that many moves ahead, but I don't think it's our best lead. I'll say that.
I agree.
But that, and I'm back to being sad because I'm like, that just means we have no clue where she is. If she's somewhere in this world, I mean, that would almost be a blessing. She could be in another dimension, another plane of reality. What do we do then?
And I sigh and I kind of put my hand on your shoulder and I say, I'm just as shocked as you are, and I don't know what we can do about that now, but I think I don't know what I was going to say. I was going to say something and we just have to maintain faith that we'll be able to find her, maybe reach this other dimension, reverse what was done. I don't. Does that make sense? I don't know.
It does. You think you're so bad at giving people advice. You should have more confidence. You're pretty good at making other people feel better. But
and I just give you a little nod and a slight smile at that, and I say, well, Tessie and Karash were heading to the teleportation circle. Do you think we should go after them?
I don't think the answers lie in the house, but I do want to run some ideas by Tessian, so definitely not going to accomplish anything sitting here feeling sorry for myself.
You guys hear a loud slam behind you as the guards seem to be kind of hurriedly getting out of the way, and a very concerned-looking Rezia steps into the hallway and makes a beeline for your direction. And Frederick kind of whispers aside to you. He was like, I sent word as soon as I could with how important things seemed. And she's immediately like, you haven't quite seen this haste from her. And it's that moment where you realize that, like, she is connected to royalty, but she's got at least a little bit of a tomboyish nature in her, because these are, like, very fast strides, and they're not thinking about appearances whatsoever.
Rezia is who?
The Empress's sister.
That's what I thought. Okay. I just want to make sure I didn't get her confused with the Empress, because that will change a little bit.
No. She heads directly to the two of you. She says, I came as soon as I heard. What happened?
So I didn't want to interrupt you. I had like leaned back against the wall and just kind of like slumped down it. So now I'm like kind of sitting and like with my hands like on my like knees kind of thing.
So I'll just kind of step between her and you, just so that you have like space for a moment, and then I will explain to her what happened, that not everyone in our group made it through the teleportation circle, specifically our friend Grail. It sounds like maybe something happened with, well, it's hard to explain. I don't have time to put it all into words right now, but it has something to do with another plane of existence, another dimension. We think she may have been teleported there instead of here. That's our working theory, at least.
Now, Frederick said you spoke to Faust. Did he say anything? Was he responsible?
As far as we can tell, he was not. He didn't say he was, but he did... what am I trying to say? He did tell us that is the most likely outcome. That if she was struggling to stay on this plane of existence, that she might have been teleported to a different one.
You see her shoulders kind of sag a little bit. She says, this is not what we wanted to happen. I mean, I warned you of the risks when we met last night, but The hope was that nothing would come to anyone who was involved in this, whether it was our guards or Cass or you or any price to pay at some point is almost too high.
If it makes you feel any better, I don't think it has anything to do with the operation we pulled, except maybe traveling through teleportation circle, but that was a ticking time bomb.
At this point, Tessian, you and Karash come in the opposite side of the hallway and you can see Rezia talking to Isaac and Lena, who are in the hallway.
So now that they're there, Tessian will kind of look and he'll be like, Isaac, glad I found you. I was hoping we could head back, look around. Then is like, something happen?
I talked to Faust.
Riddles, I take it?
Very cryptic, but I have to tell you, I don't know how many answers are going to be in the house. I think it's worth looking, sure, but I went in there thinking he definitely was responsible for something. I'm not so convinced now upon talking with him.
What did he say?
He said it has to do with being tethered to this reality, and if we have had issues with that in the past. He asked because he knew we did. Which brings up another question that I think we're going to have have in our little team huddle tonight. But my father knows everything about our team. Everything.
Did he say anything about the spell he cast?
Just maintained it was something to protect the house. He said he didn't have anything to do with teleporting her anywhere, and even if he did, why? Why would he target Grail, was his thinking. It made sense. I didn't have an answer.
Well, I mean, Tessie just kind of thinks for a second, and he's just like, I'm not one to trust your father, but I suppose he could be telling the truth. I'll admit the spell was a bit beyond my grasp, but... And he seems to have something on his mind. Did he say anything else?
Yeah, a bit. But I think we can discuss it. I don't think it's anything that matters for the immediate time. Nothing with Grail. He said she could be, in cases where tethering to the reality is an issue, she could have been propelled to another dimension or anywhere on the planet. So I guess it's worth scrying, right? Is the spell where you can like find people. It might be worth trying to scry for her. I gotta tell you, it's not the feeling I have is that she's just somewhere else on this planet. It feels like what we fear it is.
Did he mention what he was trying to protect the house from? The future? Or did he say anything of what he's trying to do?
I think he just implied from prying eyes. We promised him we were going to tear it up, and I think we should, but I think that was the measure he was trying to take. In a heated moment, I did tell him that we found the evidence that we're going to use. I figured at this point it's going to come to light in about a week anyway, so no harm done, hopefully. It seemed to take him by surprise a little bit. But then he did mention breadcrumbs, so you never really know.
I suppose not. Well, a scrying spell wouldn't be a bad idea. It's a little disheartening to think that maybe there is nothing at the house. I do think we should turn it over, as the house has provided us more answers than your father ever has. But perhaps he's telling the truth.
I get the sense, and by no means excusing him, I get the sense he really believes in what he's doing. I think he does see himself as maybe not the hero in quotes, but as someone who's trying to do what this country needs, as he sees it. Don't think he is inherently evil, just maybe misguided now.
Well, I think we should head back to the house and look around, unless there's something else you'd all rather do.
No, I think it would be good for us to convene in a place where it can just be the order.
Tessa will nod to Rezia and say, I spoke with Cass, and she said that she wanted us to return here by the night's end. We'll do as such. But for the time being, given Isaac's particular lineage and his experience with the house, I think we're perhaps the best suited to look for information there about what he was doing or what he had planned for the future. His next move, as it were.
She nods. She says, I spoke to Cass briefly just to see how things had gone, to get a report. She informed me of her plans to talk to the Empress as well. I will also speak to my sister and see if we can make a meeting happen tonight. I think she would like to, in light of what has happened as well. There are not many more people who are gifted with magic than her. So perhaps she could have an idea as well. I'm not promising anything. I do not want to get your hopes up, but it's a place to start, at least. And we can arrange for the scrying as well. I would recommend that some or all of you be present. The ability of mages to scry on an individual is enhanced by familiarity with the target. So if we just do it going off of nothing, our chances are not very high. But if you all could be there, we may be able to give it an honest shot.
Agreed. Well, with all that in order, I think it's prudent that we head back to the house as soon as possible.
There is no way to follow Grail through the circle?
That's what I tried to do earlier, Karash. I was hoping that my tentative connection with the amulet might be enough to duplicate whatever it was. But I'm of the belief that if your father does have the ability to lie particularly well, as in with some magical, enhancement, he wouldn't be able to do so in that room that you spoke to him in, Isaac. And no one else would know him better than you. If what he said is true, then perhaps I've misunderstood what's happened here. I don't know. I've got some ideas we can discuss, but we should look for evidence, one way or the other.
I kind of grab like the inside of your arm and to pull you in and say are there Cabal members at the house now?
Tessian nods.
It might be good for us to convene quickly in a place where it can just be us before that then.
And Tessian will just look to Rezia, and he'll be like, is there a private room that we could have for a moment?
She nods. She says, we can do that. I also have something for you. I actually meant to give it before you left this morning, but in the haste to plan everything and get everyone in position, it was an oversight on my part, and I apologize. And she reaches into this satchel she has with her and pulls out 5 gemmed earrings with just very, very small emeralds inlaid in them. And she hands them to you, Tessie, and she says, these are meant to help communicate over longer distances. They are... we're basically still in the critical role item. They're earrings of whisper, which lets you use the whisper spell up to 500 feet just by touching the earring. You obviously have to be able to touch the earring, so if you're bound, you can't do it, and you have to be able to whisper to have it be heard, but everyone else can receive the message in their head as though they were hearing it next to you. She hands you 5 of them, and she has this kind of remorseful look as she does so. She says, it was meant to be for one other as well. I will give it to you anyways with the hopes you can make use of it sooner than later.
Literally, Isaac was getting ready to say, I guess we have an extra one then.
Yeah. Yeah,
Nonsense.
that's why she was kind of like, she pulled it out. She's like, yeah, the Rodney Dangerfield, like, whooshka.
We'll hold on to it until we see her again.
And then she says, all right, well, we can set up that room for you. I'd like to do it outside of this chamber in some way, if that's all right with you. Enough going on here as it is without any added elements in the mix.
Mm-hmm.
So she escorts you down a couple other hallways that are not important enough to describe to like a side room where there's not a lot of activity happening, especially with everybody sort of focused in that one area. The remainder of the hallways in here are pretty quiet. When you do walk by anybody else kind of making their way through the castle, whether it's other nobles that are high enough to live there or like other guardsmen that are passing by, there's a buzz about them, sort of kind of like whispering to each other about what's happening. Some of them talking loudly about like what's going on. Like, I thought he was the hero. Like, there's that sort of conversation again permeating just about everything you walk past. But she leads you to a room where it seems to be pretty quiet and off to itself. A much nicer room than the anti-magic field one. It has, the same resplendent decorations that you've seen throughout the castle. So there's some, really, really lavishly plush chairs and whatever. But it'll serve your purposes.
Okay.
And she leads you to it. She says, well, my apologies for what has happened. No matter whose fault it was or what transpired, it pains me to learn that not all of you made it back. But I will speak to my sister. If you can make it back tonight, I suspect she will be amenable to a meeting, and perhaps something will come of that. And if not, if nothing else, it'll be a chance for you to meet her. She wishes to thank you in person as well for your role, and she's wise beyond her years, so hopefully she'll have some measure of support to give you.
We appreciate it. And for these, please thank your sister for us. We'll make good use of them.
She gives a slight curtsy and says, very well, I'll leave you to it then. If you need anything, find one of the guardsmen. Look for Mir Cass. You can't go anywhere you want in the castle, but you can go where you need to, and if necessary, just find someone to escort you and get approval. But you can stay here as long as you need.
Thank you. We appreciate everything that the royal family has done for us.
That's fine. And she takes her leave.
So I thought it would be good for us to gather and talk about next steps. But before that, my father implied, outright said, more than once that there was an informer. Someone was feeding him information, and that this person was a member of our party. Now, Chris, did I understand? I understood what he was saying correctly, right? Like, I'm trying to remember, and I can't remember the exact wordage, but he seemed to say it was someone in our party.
Yeah, he said, like, in your circle, I think.
In a circle. Okay, so that's... I will say that then.
I believe he said, and I have to check the tape on this, my words were purposeful at the time, but now I don't remember the exact wording.
Right.
That someone... How do I phrase this that doesn't give it away? Give me a moment.
Okay.
That he had gotten additional information about your group because of someone in your circle.
Okay. So I will say that then. Someone in our circle has been feeding him information. Now, I did not ask any further because I don't think he would have divulged, but also I don't know if I would have wanted him to. There's one hand I would like to find out on our own. I don't want him to tell me that we have a traitor. I also don't want him to feed us a lie, and then we start pointing fingers and he tears us apart from within. So I'm trying to stay very level-headed, understanding that this could be a ploy from him. But if it's not, we have a problem.
Lena, do you still have the scroll that you write to communicate with your family?
And I nod and I say I do, and but I only write about the Conatus, specific details about the journey. I don't divulge anything about the group.
Faust knew all about the amulet and Tessian almost blinking out of existence. It was detailed.
There were things he knew that he should not have been able to know unless he was in our group. And then I kind of touch my mistletoe earrings. Chris, remind me, my grandmother can see through my earrings, right? Like, she can watch over me? That's a thing, right?
She has the ability to, yes. It's how she scryed on you to find your location to teleport to you back when you met her in... Name of city, I'm forgetting.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the city name, too.
Where you also met Cavis and...
Yeah.
The woman who had been captured who helped you kill one of the nobles. You know the city.
Yeah.
I could go dig it up, but it doesn't matter. But yes, she told you at the time that was how she located you to be able to come find you and give you more information about the Conatus.
Right. So I just kind of hold my hand up to my earring, but then I don't say anything else. I'm just thinking.
So you don't mention, so I won't say anything then. Go ahead.
I will speak for myself, but I'm certainly not feeding your father any information. But, Isaac, it's possible one of us is without knowing. There's enough magic to watch people, or, I mean, it could be as simple as Connor. He knows, he's been following us through him. We know that he's connected to the Blades, after all. Connor would know about the medallions. I'm not sure how he would know about what happened to me.
Holden?
Holden. Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, Connor's your brother. Yes, Holden. Sorry. Too many brothers.
I thought about that. I thought about... God, I thought... Even Grail. I don't know. I wouldn't think so. I trust all of you, but...
Just because he can get information from us doesn't mean it was given willingly.
No, I mean you're right. He seemed to imply that, but again, can be a master of deception. So I just think we need to take any precautions that we can. We can't. It could be anything, but I don't think we can just say that and continue going along the way that we have been.
And then because I didn't mention the thing with my grandmother. I think I stopped, right?
You did.
Would
you like to?
I would like to divulge that in light of I still have my hand up to my earrings, and I say, my grandmother can watch over me through the earrings. It's how she was able to find me originally and tell us more about the Conatus. Now, I trust her. I severely doubt she has anything to do with Faust Dryden, but if she can scry on me through the earrings, perhaps others can too. Maybe I should try to get in contact with her, see if there's anyone else she knows of who could be doing that. I don't know. I just
Your grandmother was a part of the old war, yes?
Was she, Chris?
That was always the impression I got from her.
I know she's part of the original Conatus group, I think, right?
Yes.
Yes, she was part of the one who
a former Conatus.
A former
group.
Conatus.
Faust is like Orin. He was part of the original Conatus too. What the fuck?
Do we?
God damn it!
Unalaska.
Do we know he's not? That's where I'm going with this. Honestly.
I'm scrolling. So give me a moment. I need to make this more searchable at some point going forward, in case you guys spring something from 18 sessions ago on me. No, that's too far back. That's fucking Sagara Cove. It's in order at least, so that makes it convenient.
The very beginning.
If we are all willing, I can test to see if we are all telling the truth, but that assumes that you trust I am telling the truth as well.
I don't think that's necessary. I trust us all here, even Grail. If she were here, she would surely agree with us that I severely doubt any of us are actually traitors and willingly giving information, but...
I trust all of you, but why not? Why don't we do that thing?
Because I was mostly trying to vamp, not actually use a goddamn spell slot.
I will say
the day is over, Crash.
It's like noon. I will say, if she mentioned the war, it was because she lived through it, not that she was involved in it. I'll have to check the tape to double check that I didn't give anything else away in that span, but as far as I know, that was not the case.
Okay.
But yeah, she was not directly involved in the war.
I was certainly, I think, I guess maybe even Tessian was confusing her being in the war with her being in the original Conatus.
Yeah, she was
yeah.
in a Conatus group from a long time ago.
Now, Lena, I wanted to bring this up because I think we need to be diligent. I don't want us to all start being paranoid and pointing fingers. With that said, that's probably the best lead that we have right now, is your grandmother can see everything that we're doing. Whether someone's intercepting those signals or... I mean... Faust did mention how important the Conatus was.
He knew about it, yes.
Could there be some tie between my father and the Sowenwood? I mean, that's quite a leap, but...
You didn't mention that before. The Conatus.
Oh, yes. Towards the end of our discussion with him, as we were leaving, he told me to continue the journey, regardless of what happened to Grail, and that it was important. I told him I intended to do that regardless, but the fact that he brought it up was a little concerning that he knew that, among everything else.
Well, Tess's gonna walk forward. Is there like a table in this room?
Sure.
Sure. He'll walk forward and just kind of put the earrings on the table and then kind of pick one up for himself. And then just sort of group two of them close to each other and like push them in Lena's direction and then push the other ones in everyone else's sort of direction. And he'll say, well, let's assume your father's telling the truth, Isaac. Let's assume that the spell he cast, the one I tried and I'm going to assume failed to dispel, was to protect his household. Let's assume it was to keep out intruders. The spell had ties to the other world, yes? At least, I apologize. I asked that for my sake. The answer is, it did. When I touched it, I myself seemed to disappear a little bit. I'm connected to it somehow, but let's assume that that's true. He cast a protective spell over his household to keep out intruders, potentially from the other world. He knows about the Conatus. Your grandmother seems to be pushing towards a grander destiny, a need for it, I think she had said at one point. Perhaps Grail was an accident. Perhaps the spell he cast was to keep out intruders. The intruders are just not from this world. I mean, the question has always been, why was your father building weapons? What was he trying to do with it? We assume take over, yes, but what if he's building weapons because he knows there's something coming? We haven't seen much of this other world, except that it was in bad shape, and that something was going very wrong over there. Perhaps the Conatus, perhaps your father, perhaps this whole mystery. Perhaps your father is still trying to be the hero and protect this world. And he's just doing it the only way he knows how. It would explain a lot. And it would explain why he wants us to complete the Conatus. It might very well be just as important as he and your grandmother, Lena, have indicated.
Something that I've been fearing for a little while now is that the Conatus is not just a symbolic journey. It might have some more importance than we know now. I don't know. Quick question, Chris. I just want to make sure. So the cannon, the mana cannon, it like killed a bunch of people, right? It wasn't just like he made it and it was a weapon of fuck. What's the word? Starts with the D.
Destruction.
Yes, that was it. No, like
deterrence.
Like, deterrent. It wasn't just like now we have a cannon and it's a weapon of deterrence, so the war ends because no one wants to mess with it. He like actually nuked like a side.
I need to consult even further up in my notes real quick, just for one piece of that answer before I give it.
And even like just the history book version. Yeah, maybe there's more to it, but
right.
I mean, my recollection of the history book version is that something went wrong with it because it exploded in the face of those trying to wield it.
The history book version, and obviously that's all anybody in this group has to go off of, is indeed it was built as a deterrent.
He built it as a deterrent.
Yes.
Okay.
He was at least involved in the building of it. How much so, that's not known to history. But he is tied to it. That's part of why he has the status as the hero, because he brought an end to the conflict because of his device. But it was not supposed to fire according to the history books.
Okay.
And it leveled the entire Still Valley area in the process and killed probably tens of thousands.
So I'm thinking he had something to do with that misfire, although it could truly just be an accident. But okay, that helps.
Purely for my own curiosity, was it referred to as the Still Valley before and after, or is after only because of the whole everything died?
Only after. The city is relatively new. It was not there prior to the War of Calamity.
Okay.
It sprung up afterwards, a considerable time afterwards. In fact, it's only about 20 years old, because there was a time where it was just meant to pay respects, and then afterwards they realized that in some way it was this sort of eerie waste of space, and they might as well start to get something good out of it.
I kind of want to know about the war. Like, what do we know about the war? Like, as a total, if this, you can tell me now is not a good time and we can skip it. But now I'm super curious. Like, what the hell happened?
This is where I should read the intro or like play the intro episode.
Yeah. Look, I'll admit this whole theory of mine might be a little far-fetched, but it would explain a great many things. Why your father has not taken greater steps to stop us. Why the Conatus is as important as it says. Balance to our world. I mean, I won't pretend to understand ancient prophecies at all, but perhaps there's some other forces at work here, and we're just pawns. It's not
I mean, it's a stretch, right? But at the same time, it's as good a theory as we have right now. And it certainly ties pieces together.
I'm not one to trust your father, Isaac, but it would make sense. It would explain why he's trying to duplicate the things that he has. It would... I don't know. It's possible, Tessian looks to Lena, it's possible that getting father on the Conatus will provide us more answers about what's going on with Grail, what's going on with this other world, what's going on with your father, Isaac. Maybe it is all connected. I'll admit, I don't like it. I don't like the thought of us being pawns in someone else's game, but for him to know about the Conatus, and specifically to want you to complete it, ties a few pieces together. You've never been one to trust nobility, Isaac, and I understand why, but so often we are willing to do whatever it takes to protect those underneath us, at least when our intentions are good. It's possible that your father's as terrible a man as he is, because those are simply the stakes he has to pay. Maybe he still is the hero. It's not the easier answer, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's not true.
It could be, and if nothing else, I mean, I like the idea of getting back on the Conatus, and it could give us answers to what Grail is. I think that gives us some next steps, if nothing else. We can go through the motions of the scrying tonight. I don't think it's going to turn up anything, but at least we can say we tried it. I think we can spend maybe a little bit of time. We know we have 2 weeks, Chris. 1 week?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. We know we have 2 weeks. Maybe we spend a couple days turning the house over. I don't think we're going to find a whole lot. But then I wonder if we don't just go for the Conatus.
Well, the fact of the matter is, if I'm right, then we're going to want to start on this Conatus as quickly as possible. It might be our only lead to answers, and it's going to be crucial in order to protect our world from whatever it is your father seems to be amassing weapons for. And if I'm wrong, well, then your father's just a crazy man striving for power, and there's still a prophecy and a political resurgence for Lena and her people that we can help bring about. Either way, the Conatus is the right answer. And if Grail is out there somewhere, I would think she knows that that would be our next step, to keep going where we were planning on going. I think in every path that we could choose, the Conatus is the door in front of us.
I just don't know how we do it without her. And sad boy is sad.
I clutch the opal necklace around my neck at that.
Tessie doesn't have an answer for that one. He's just quiet. So, do we bother tearing apart your father's house today? Or, do we put it off for tomorrow?
I say tomorrow. I don't really feel like doing a whole lot today.
Well, we should inform Resi and the rest of them that we're going to return there tomorrow, not today. And then I suppose we should retire somewhat, head back to the... God, what was the name of the inn? It was like a cauldron?
The Witch's Cauldron.
Witch's Cauldron.
That one I know because it's on my more recent notes.
And I suppose we should head back to the Witch's Cauldron and enjoy what little of our night we have. Lena, I think you should hold on to this. And he grabs both the earrings and just sort of tosses them over to her. And it's just like, but when we see Grail again.
And I nod and I carefully pick up the necklaces, or the earrings, not necklaces, and I just kind of look at them for a second and then put them in the bag of holding for safekeeping.
Are you talking about the scrying ones? By any chance? Because I was gonna say
whisper ones. The whisper
okay.
ones.
I was gonna say we should take off the scrying ones and put them in the bag of holding for now until we know more. I know this is probably difficult for you, but
Yeah, I kind of put my hand up to my earring and I say, you're probably right. I doubt she's watching all the time, and it's probably okay for a little bit. So I carefully take them out and then put them in the bag of holding, and then
crush them.
no,
Done.
my magically imbued mistletoe earrings, and then I put in one of the whisper ones.
It's just
I put a whisper one on as well.
Yeah, I'll do the same and just say, as I'm getting ready to leave, because Isaac loves like dramatic exits. He just says like, I know we have to stay focused on our mission, but it's really hard not feeling like we're just giving up on her. And I walk away.
Well, Tessian is just takes a deep breath, sighs a little, and he's like, "Well, I'll inform Rezia of our plans, how they've changed, and I'll meet the rest of you back at the cauldron.
Okay.
And if anything happens," he taps his ear, "keep in touch." And then he'll go walk off to find Rezia and let her know the deeds.
Okay.
Okay.
Keep in mind, this is a reminder, 500 feet on the earpieces, so pretty good range.
It's not a huge, but like the room explodes when he's 400 feet down the hallway.
Yeah, works a pretty respectable distance. Nothing broken, nothing silly. Can't communicate across the planet, but they will work in a pretty good range. As long as you guys are in the same general area, they'll probably work just fine. Tessie and you make your way over to, I guess the easiest way would just to fast forward to the front desk again, where you can ask the person there. You can inquire about Rezia. A few minutes pass, and she returns to the lobby to meet you. She says, "Well met, Tessian. I believe the Empress would like to meet tonight, indeed. If you could have your companions return around 7 o'clock.
Certainly. We've decided to forestall searching Faust's abode and his lab, at least for the time being. We'd like to be there when it happens, but I think we're going to need a night to rest and, I suppose, speak with the Empress. I'll let everyone know, and we'll be back and here at 7 sharply."
She nods. She says, "Very well. That makes a lot of sense. What would you have us do with Connor?" Cass mentioned that they were still holding him for the time being, just until they found out more about what had happened with Grail, but...
Tessian's like, "Well, I would leave. I would keep an eye on him, ensure that he doesn't enter his father's lab. Other than that, I suppose we've no use for him. He's never struck me as someone particularly intelligent, and I don't think he could do much damage for what we're looking for, so long as he is kept away from Faust's laboratory, kept under watch.
She nods. She says, well, shouldn't be too hard to keep someone there under the pretense of keeping an eye on the estate while we have Faust under custody. We can't hold him, but we can at least keep an eye on things within reason.
And I'm sure he'll probably, I don't know, hit the town or something. He seems like quite the braggart. But as long as he stays out of the house, we should be fine.
So you don't care to have him followed if he leaves the estate, just monitored when he's there?
I'll leave that one up to you. And if you do send someone, I would send someone you trust. But I suspect Faust was the man truly in charge. And I would like to potentially borrow some of your Cabal members, or maybe some of the local mages, when we search the premise. There's a number of artifacts there, at least one that we know of, that might have very far-reaching effects and could be crucial to Faust's power. I'd like to disable them, at the very least. They could prove dangerous in the long run. So while Faust is out of commission, at least magically, now would be the time to act.
She nods. She says, seems reasonable, yes. Those arrangements should be possible. For tomorrow, we can have them ready to go in case you wish to explore the manor more. Tonight, we'll have the scrying set up when you arrive for your meeting with the Empress, so we can try that as well, and I'll try and make sure Cass can make it there as well. She should be in the room. The Empress's intent is to send away the Cabal, which is going to tip her hand a bit, but I think she already knows that that's happened by going after Faust directly, so while it's possible someone could be monitoring the room, I think she's decided to abandon any pretense at this point and just speak openly.
Very well. For what it's worth, we have suspicions that maybe Faust is being surprisingly honest about his intent. Maybe not what he's actually doing, but his goal may not be to overthrow the Empire. Well, not in the long run, at least. So keep your eyes and your ears open for anything, and don't dismiss any rumors you may hear or anything that he says. There might be a lot more to this than we initially realized.
Well, we'll do the best we can. Cass said he was a silver-tongued bastard, but who knows? In some form of this is all a game to him of some kind, then maybe he'll be giving us things to go on, whether we know it or not. It would be foolish to dismiss everything out of hand, but we also won't jump at the first suggestion he gives.
I suspect he likes sprinkling truths in his lies to see if anyone will pick up on them and go somewhere with them. He strikes me as the kind of man that likes an opponent. And, well, I think that will be his downfall in the end.
Well, they say the best lies have a kernel of truth to them. Seems Faust Dryden has taken that to the extreme, but nonetheless, I am glad that we got him here, and we will see you this evening. If you need anything else, please reach out to us and let us know.
I will. Thank you for everything. We'll see you this evening.
She curtsies and heads
He does
back
the same.
into the deeper parts of the palace. And as you make your way back to the Witch's Cauldron, we are going to leave off there. As a warning to the viewers, because I'll talk to the players about this after, there is this little 2-week window coming up where they're going to have some time on their hands. We're going to talk about what they might intend to do with it, and we'll tell you on air as well. But there may be some Cornetus side stuff or any other number of possibilities. Next session, we will have a meeting with the Empress, a scry attempt that who knows the result of, and then we'll dip into what they might do in the span in between, investigating the house, Cornetus, whatever else their little hearts might lead them to. Next time on the Anachroschism.